Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvel Cast Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers Defenders to Animax and Eclipse. I'm your host, Ash Hubley, your Iron Man-esque podcast host. Joining me today is Dylan Blight.
That was a choice.
That was a choice. That I'll have to repeat for the next 3 weeks. We're back. Yes, today we're talking about the latest MCU TV series, Ironheart, featuring Riri Williams, who we all remember from Wakanda Forever, right?
Yep, because the trailers told me.
But we probably should have rewatched Wakanda Forever.
I'll be honest, I can barely remember that movie.
That's exactly my thoughts exactly. So, man,
whereas I can remember the first one so vividly because I've watched it so many times. But
yeah,
the second one, I watched it once. I think just the cinemas. I don't think I've touched it since.
Yeah. Just so too emotional.
Wakanda, not forever. In fact.
So obviously we had the 3-episode premiere this week. Lot to talk about, so let's just dive straight in. Please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about pop themes in any of the episodes. So if you haven't watched them, come back later. Of course, they're playing on Disney Plus. With that said, let's talk about Ironheart, miniseries created by Chinaka Hodge, starring Dominique, Thorne, Anthony Ramos, Lyric Ross, Alden Ehrenreich, Regan, Aliyah, Manny Montagna, Matthew Elam, and Anji White. So the first 3 episodes that Take Me Home, directed by Sam Bailey, written by Chinaka Hodge. Then there's Will the Real, Natalie, Please Stand Up, also directed by Sam Bailey, written by Malarie Howard. And We in Danger, Girl, also directed by Sam Bailey, written by Francesca Gailes and Jacqueline J. Gailes. Dylan, what do you think of the first half of Ironheart?
Yeah, that's the first thing. I kind of forgot that it was 3 episodes in 96, and they just so it's a 2-week drop.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
It's not week by week afterwards.
Next week they drop the other half.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Weird. I enjoyed it a lot more than the trailers. I think the for a character I do not remember at all from Wakanda Forever, I'm enjoying Riri Williams. I think that her baseline story of why she wants to build the suits, other than just because she can or isn't wants to be next Tony Stark. I think all of that, they haven't done a good job of explaining that side of her. However, I think what they do get right and what's working is obviously the trauma and backstory for her loss of her best friend and then turning that to an AI, and then I think the performances between those two as that picked up in the last couple episodes, episode 2 and 3, I was really enjoying that dynamic, and then when you pair in her mum and all that sort of, like her I don't know, will they, won't they boyfriend, I'm not sure what's going on there. I think the core group from her younger, when she's younger and she returns home now and she's meeting up and seeing some of them, I'm enjoying all of that dynamic and what have you. I think the group surrounding the Hood is good. I enjoy that cast. I enjoy their banter. I enjoy their dynamic. I don't think Anthony Ramos makes a good Hood. I think he comes off just like a dweeb, and I don't. I can't buy into him as a character that, like, I know a little bit enough about to know that I can't picture him as like the leader of a massive criminal empire or anything like that. The Alden Ehrenreich character, which I remember when we watched the trailer last time, I was like, I don't know who that is, and I was like Googling his character name and nothing, and then they're like, it's a new character for the show. I'm not sure if it's going to turn out to be anything more, but I'm surprisingly enjoying how well he's doing in a supporting role, and I appreciate that he's giving it it's like he's not treating it any different than just because he is in a supporting role than he's in the lead. It's also good to see him back, I guess, under Disney after they and he's not holding it against them after they fucked him on Star Wars, obviously. And I do think that's the important thing. They fucked him on Star Wars, not he fucked Star Wars. Didn't realize Eric Andre was going to be in this for one episode. That was quite funny. Cinematography is good. The music has been good so far. Surprisingly enjoying it. Again, for the 70% that's more of the character stuff, and then the stuff I'm enjoying the least, I guess, is the 30% more superhero stuff. But not surprising.
I'm enjoying it for the most part. Like it's not blowing me away by any stretch, but it's enjoyable enough television to watch. Special effects are pretty good. Like the whole, it's cool seeing someone flying around in a suit again, and like to see how far we've come. Since Iron Man, that they're able to do this effectively on television now.
You know what my favorite shot was of that? Of just like how cool and how much they've mastered someone just flying out suit. When she gets when she gets into suit, when she first fixes it with Alden Ehrenreich, and she just like flies out that stairwell. I was like, that looked cool. And then the second time is when the suit rescues her when she's about to
suffocate
and just stepping into it. I was like, oh, that's pretty bad.
But I think all the family dynamic stuff is probably the most interesting stuff, and like her dealing with Natalie, the AI that she somehow created by accident, it seems like. That's all been really fun and enjoyable, and seeing that AI trying to push its boundaries and that kind of thing. I think Alden Ehrenreich's character is really interesting so far. Excited to see where it is, because obviously they gave us a fake name, but it is a character within the comics now.
Is it? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know who.
So we'll get into it when we talk about it. But
okay, right.
I'm not minding Anthony Ramos as the Hood. I'm not as familiar. I know he's just a dude. I know he's like he could be the head of a criminal organization, but I think he's coming off very likable and charming, at least these first few episodes. And he could take a darker turn in the second half.
I'll say I've never read any of his earlier stuff where it's like more to do with him stealing the fucking hood off a demon or whatever. The storylines I've read of the later stuff where they sort of did away with some of that. It was like, he got some like cool. He can turn invisible and shit. Anyway, he just wants to run a criminal empire.
I think post Secret Invasion, something like that.
It was post some big event,
they kind of like leveled him up significantly. But all right, let's run through the episode. So I'm reading through a synopsis from Collider.com, written by Arazu Amin. Quite lengthy because it goes through all 3 episodes. So here we go. The episode kicks off with a compilation of home video footage of Riri and her best friend Natalie over the years, but primarily dominated by a selfie video of the two of them, with the pair sharing that what they want more than anything. Riri says she wants to be bigger than Hank Pym or Tony Stark, while Natalie, after a quick, not safe for work detour about a certain God of Thunder, says that she just wants to be happy. It's sweet, which of course means it isn't going to last. We then jump to a montage of Riri's time at...
I'll interrupt you if everything will be here forever. But
go ahead.
I do find it funny that, like I'm saying, I enjoy the human stuff more than the Marvel stuff, and we get the human stuff before the Marvel logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We then jump to a montage of Riri's time at MIT, narrated by Riri herself, as she explains she's got great aspirations for her future. It took her in her internship at Wakanda for her to realize that she'll never be able to truly realize her dream and build all those things she wants. Build without a steady stream of revenue. Tony Stark might have been a genius, but as she points out, he wouldn't have been able to be who he was if he wasn't also a literal billionaire. Her primary goal at the moment is to create tech that would revolutionize safety, but trying to do so while also building and maintaining her replica of Shuri's AI system, Griot, is proven to be expensive, leading to some less than ethical ways for her to make money. Primarily selling projects to other schools, students.
Yeah, I don't know how you get away with that. Like, to show what they're building.
To the level that she was given stuff as ways.
Some dude like walks in a class, he's like, I built this like invisible, this fucking floating ball shield thing. And the teacher's like, show your maths, dude. Like, I got none.
It's then that we realize this isn't just for our benefit, but instead being given to Dean Choi and Professor Wilkes, as Riri asked to have her grant extended for another year. They're not receptive to the idea, in part because of her latest experiment wound up injuring Wilkes, but also because for as long as she's been there, and despite the course of study specifically tailored to her genius way, she's not any close to actually earning her degree. Dean Choi doesn't believe Riri's attempts to act like a degree is completely irrelevant, or that earning one would make her small, but she also points out that the school has a zero-tolerance policy towards plagiarism, and Riri has been helping students at not just her school, but every school in the area plagiarize their work. With that in mind, Choi expels Riri, effective immediately. Which, fair, I don't like Wilkes' snarky implication that Riri is a horrible steward of Stark's legacy.
I got when they had when the principal, I was like, why is he in this for all of like 2 seconds? I was like, oh, it's because he's like the same character from Spider-Man or whatever, right?
Yeah, I believe Civil War.
Civil War, right?
Remember the Tony Stark showed up at Civil War at the start and gave away a bunch of grants?
Yeah, I was like, I know he's been
in the MCU.
Yeah, I couldn't remember where.
So sends her to a lab together. The beginning belongings. The only belonging she's really interested in is her Iron Man-esque armored suit, which a classmate points out she built with her own grant money, so she technically owns it. She doesn't stick around for campus security to work it out, though, as she takes off with the help of Trevor, MIT's built-in AI assistant for students, sets a course for home, aka Chicago. Meanwhile, in Chicago, a gang made up of John, Clown, Slug, Ross, Jerry Blood, and Stewart, aka Rampage, prepares for a heist. Things go poorly as Stewart doesn't manage to disable the alarm.
Call him Rampage. Stop calling him Stewart. Fuck.
The gang winds up fleeing from the authorities. They rendezvous with their leader, the Hood, aka Parker Robbins, who sends most of them home before conferring with John. There is either not the first time Stewart has let them down, or else they're just that unforgiving. Because the Hood tells John they need to fire him and find someone new, but the clock is ticking with 3 more jobs lined up, but who could help them with their hardware needs? In, movie coincidence luck, Riri chooses that exact moment to fly by in her suit, texting a friend and Natalie's brother Xavier, asking him to meet her at her mum's place to come up with an escape plan. Trevor gets the message out, but shuts down shortly after MIT revokes Riri's access to the student AI. Really not a smart idea to use, like, the school's AI to power your suit. You would think you would install some sort of manual override in case.
I think that AI was as useful as the fucking Microsoft paperclip, so...
It was.
Yeah.
Chicago's bad. Riri loses control of the suit and crashes down the street, lucky within walking distance from her home. Landon, one of the local kids, offers to help her carry her suit home with the wagon in exchange for $20. In this economy, we've got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, like he's later when she goes to get it. I know we'll probably get to it, but when he gets to go, because I give me $20 because she gave $20 last time. Give me $20 to take it. 40 lady. They blame the economy.
Blame inflation.
Blame inflation.
Inflation's not that going up that fast. And she heads up to her mom Ronnie's place. Through the door, she overhears her mom and her friends, particularly her one friend Madeline, talking about her and the trauma Riri still carries from losing both Natalie and her stepfather Gary, without being able to say goodbye to either of them. Riri bristles at the attention, and from the implications she might be still grieving, but has saved from having to sit through any more of this by Xavier's arrival. The two of them head out to catch up, and Riri once again shares her fears of being small and not respected. This, she says, is the reason she focuses so much on building the armored suits. She sees them as a way of getting people to take her seriously and allow her to work on whatever she truly wants to. And she tells Xavier she needs to find a job that will allow her to do so, even if it takes her halfway around the world.
I mean, I get, it's just, I don't feel like it's that deep, personally. Or it doesn't come across sincere is my problem.
No, yeah. I think she comes up with a sincere reason later in the episodes, so. She and Xavier also stop by Gary's old garage, where in the time Riri's been gone, the community painted a mural of Gary and Natalie. While Xavier wants to share memories of the two of them, Riri is more reluctant to do so, saying only that she sold the car that Shingari was working on to finance her suit. As he takes her home, in a charming gesture, he gives her a mixtape that he made along with the tape player and headphones needed to listen to it. Xavier is just the sweetest and absolutely needs to be protected at all costs. And as he leaves, we see John standing at the end of the street, having managed to track Riri down. The next day, Riri heads to the junkyard to pick up through spare parts with Xavier. While he loads up the car, Riri heads inside to settle the bill, mentally preparing herself to tell the owner of Jim that she can't actually afford to pay right away. She doesn't have to get a word in edgewise, as he heaps praise on her for being their own local child prodigy. Once she does start to tell him she can't afford the parts she needs, John cuts in and pays for them, faking a friendly relationship with her until the two go outside. She doesn't buy into John's attempts to flatter her by saying she's smarter than Tony Stark, but she does acknowledge that part of Tony's advantage comes from unlimited resources, which she doesn't have. John invites her to come meet the Hood, as he says his employer operates outside the traditional structure and gives her an address.
Come to the Hood.
With instructions to arrive early next day. When Riri arrives at the pizzeria, she takes the service elevator to head to the second floor, as instructed, or starts to anyway, as the elevator quickly comes to a stop and starts filling with gas. The Hood's voice comes over the speaker and tells us she's got 3 minutes before the air in the elevator becomes unbreathable, but there's a gas mask device in the floor that can save her. This, he explains, is her interview to join the crew. Rather than waste time breaking into the device, Riri breaks into the elevator itself, gets it moving enough for her to pry the door open, where she's greeted by the whole crew. Parker welcomes her and essentially offers her a job on the spot, telling her she broke Stuart's record. But the trick with the
Rampage!
But the trick with the elevator has her shaken enough that she turns him down on the spot, even as he pinpoints her fears about having to stay small and watch other people take the jobs owed to her. He offers to walk her out, but before he does, asks her how much money it would take to get her on a crew, showing that he's got more than enough money to meet whatever her demand is. He offers her a stack of cash up front on the condition that she joins them for the next 3 jobs, which she admits are not strictly legal, but assures her they're more about theft and extortion than hurting anyone. He adds that if she joins, she'll get a cut of the money and the tools to realize her dreams. And Riri agrees, then heads home to rebuild the suit, as Parker says they'll need it for the job. Solid introduction. Again, a good showcase of Riri's abilities and problem solving. You know,
thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and Eric Andre.
Rampage.
Later, Parker and John confirm that the next day's job is a go, while John also prepares to continue work on the large tattoo that the Hood has spread over his arms and back. That's not the only thing spreading across his skin, as it also runs through the black veins, snaking out all over. As they take a break, because this doesn't seem like any ordinary tattoo, the Hood takes his hood and places it on a dress form in a not at all ominous-looking windowless room. Meanwhile, Riri works on reconstructing the suit, but also needs to reconstruct the AI to go with it. As Riri works, she listens to the tape that Xavier made for her, impressed with his music and vocals, until the tape sends her an emotional spiral when he hears Natalie's voice woven into the track, the audio coming from an old voicemail she left her brother. The audio triggers a flashback of the night Natalie and Gary died. Riri was with the 2 of them at the garage, working on the car, when an unrelated fight escalated just outside, leading to a drive-by shooting. Gary managed to push Riri out of the way in time, but as he tried to get to Natalie, the 2 of them were shot. Rough. She heads back into the house, is met by Ronnie.
There's 2 things that I guess are interesting with this is obviously you've got Riri. Riri is dealing with sort of post-traumatic stress anytime this event sort of comes up and triggers, and we get to see her have a panic attack and all that sort of stuff. But I do think this show's trying to do some interesting, or at least so far, interesting, especially considering it's a Marvel show, subject matter around, can AIs, the human, are they sentient life forms, all that sort of stuff. We're already getting some of that with Natalie, and I think the fact that the AI had a freaking PTSD attack the first time they go there is quite interesting.
Yep. She gets back to the house to meet Ronnie, who we hear crying, and tries to talk to her daughter. Instead, Riri lashes out at her mum, asking why she never bothered cleaning up the shop after what happened, and accuses her of not caring about Gary's dreams. Ronnie holds her ground, recognizes her daughter is so full of unprocessed grief that she can't get past it, to realize Ronnie is also hurting too, but doesn't apologize either. Nor should she. Where Riri has her studies to throw herself into after what happened, Ronnie had to stay behind in a city and a neighborhood full of memories with no one to process her own pain with. But she gives Riri the space to go to a room and deal with it however she feels best. The brain mapping process needed to create it is several hours long, leading Riri to sit there overnight while it does its things, her thoughts full of Natalie as she falls asleep. She wakes up the next morning to someone calling her name. That someone? Natalie. A digital AI recreation of Natalie, but Natalie all the same. Author writes, this is the first time over the course of the series that I've really lamented the release structure, because a cliffhanger like that really loses punch when it takes 10 seconds to hit next episode. Dylan just did the finger point. That's because he agrees. Not great in audio.
So, yeah, like my silence. The listeners know. Listeners know that I would be nodding. You know.
I mean, not wrong. Spend this whole episode dealing with they've been dead, and then it just shows up at the end. That's a cool cliffhanger. All right. In the next episode, things kick off with Riri picking herself up after getting the shock of her life with seeing Natalie standing in the kitchen, or rather Natalie, Neuro-Autonomous Technical Assistant and Laboratory Intelligence Entity. But I'm not going to call it Natalie because typing it the other way is exhausting. A 3D image projected out of the chest plate of Riri's suit. Riri isn't keen on keeping this version of the AI around since talking to her dead best friend is freaking her out. But Natalie isn't like Shuri's AI griot, and he pushes back against running diagnostics that could get her deleted. Before Riri can push her any harder, she hears running at the door and orders Natalie to stay hidden. I don't know why she thinks she would have to explain. I don't know why she thinks this would be hard to explain to her mother, given that Ronnie knows she's a prodigy and a genius, but I guess she thinks it's easier this way. Especially if she's planning on deleting Natalie anyway. She gets out to meet with Parker, leaving Natalie to her own devices, and runs into Xavier, who invites her out later in that night. Again, he's truly just so sweet and earnest. I adore how much he's trying with Riri. Okay.
I was thinking maybe that the reason she's trying to hide is because she knows she would ask, like she does later, for a AI of Gary.
Yeah. This is purely accidental. I don't know how they did it. Yeah. Riri
it's like a Frankenstein type monster thing where it's like she placed all the elements there, and then when she clicked shock or to life, didn't
think through the
it went kind of the way that she thought, but in a whole nother way.
Yeah, absolutely. Riri meets up with Parker and co to prep for the first job, targeting a company called Tunnel, or TNNL, which is turning Chicago's freight tunnels into a private highway at the expense of local communities, and their CEO, Sheila Zarate. He introduces her to the team properly, except for Stu, who is no longer there.
Rampage.
And then John walks through with them through the job, disrupt Sheila's TNL's demonstration by uploading a virus to the system to shut down, allowing the crew to take over and for John to conduct negotiations. They'll tell Riri they'll need her in the suit that night, and she assures them that it's just charging, but it'll be ready to go. Problems with the AI aside, the suit is decidedly not ready, and Riri reaches out to Stu to see if he's got someone who can help her get the parts she's missing. He sends her to voicemail, but Natalie shares the list of black market shoppers she found in the area while Riri was out, closest being Joe McKilligutty, which sounds extremely fake, but at least he's likely to have what Riri is looking for. Natalie is excited that Riri is going to, along with her idea, and in the process lets slip a memory of what real Natalie and Riri used to do together, which freaks Riri out. After all, this is just an AI that looks like her best friend.
So the thing I find interesting is just she is sentient enough that she'll talk randomly about like, oh, remember when we did this thing, or do you remember when I did this? But then also she's also then looking at what she even looks like and stuff. Like, it's quite interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, without thinking, she'll start talking about a memory, but she has no context of what she even looks like or anything.
Well, I mean, you would assume based on how she was created that like everything is from Riri's perspective.
Of her.
But
then, but
Yeah.
exactly. So, it's,
So,
I'm generally finding how they're doing the AI stuff quite
interesting.
shockingly interesting for this show.
This is some good AI, not that bad. We have to deal with all the time. You know? She tethers Natalie to a laptop since she can't leave the room, and heads out to find Landon and borrow his wagon from him so she can wheel the suit out to Everston, where Joe lives. $40 later.
Yeah.
She bumps into him outside his house, and the man is bumbling and awkward as his name is fake, and as he confronts or tries to confront a neighbor for letting a dog poop on his lawn. He tells him what she's looking for, and while he initially plays dumb, he lets slip just a little too much, and he threatens to call the authorities if he doesn't help her out.
How do you know this stuff could have got delivered from the black market to the right house?
Yeah, he could have just moved in. I don't know.
Could have just, yeah. I was like, I think he's doing the bumbling sort of nice guy thing quite well.
Yeah, you should do it more.
Mm.
Since the collection is stored off-site and requires retinal scanning, he caves almost immediately and offers to drive Riri there himself. Even though he caved on the drive over, Riri catches him nearly crying, and he explains that blackmail is a regular occurrence for him. He's loath to part with any of his collection.
Just the lip quiver too.
Yeah. While Riri doesn't have anything to say to the latter, she tells him he really needs to stand up for himself, since as a white man he was born with this sort of power, and respect Riri can really only get with her iron suit. This will absolutely come back to bite, but for now it's actually enjoyable watching their little retreat blossom.
But I think between lines like this and the fact she has like Black Lives posters and stuff in her room, I'm like, if this show isn't getting review bombed already, it's like,
surely will. What's my favorite line? Like, you should stand up to everybody. Like, you're a man of power, but you know you can intimidate everybody except me, because remember I got the really scary looking suit.
Yeah, really scary. Well, he says that he's like, you really scary.
Yeah. Stand up to everybody but me. Yeah. Really, what's a friendship without a little car karaoke? I'll ask Morris at anyone. The pair pull up at a silo set on an overgrown property where he tells her she's hiding his collection out of sheer fear that he would be caught. Despite the derelict exterior, the inside is very well maintained, extremely well stocked, and not at all shady, because shady bunkers don't have light up, live, laugh, love signs.
Which she then says is right above auto-targeting missiles or something like that. It's quite funny.
Riri doesn't buy that this is just a hobby, and Joe tells her that the collection helps him feel closer to her father, an engineer who maintains that technology was the future. Where he differs from his father, though, is the belief that the benefits of bionics is weapons manufacturing. Joe says there are so many more humanity benefiting applications like organ transplants and prosthetics. Even though Riri won't tell him the real reason behind why she does what she does, it's clear the two of them share the desire to benefit humanity through tech. Back at Riri's, Natalie has learned how to text from inside the computer. With Riri leaving her on red, she instead turns her efforts to breaking out of the laptop by going through Riri's files. She manages to get...
Have you got this message? Can you reply if you're saying this message? Hey, it's Natalie, by the way.
Yeah. Remember me? She manages to get out and even gets as far as the kitchen by beaming out of Ronnie's projector and onto the canvas she's working on. She's understandably startled, but she's also Riri's mother and is therefore immediately on board with the idea of an AI Natalie. With Riri still out, the two of them get to chatting, and Ronnie tells her the only way for her to be truly a part of Riri's life is to force her way in. Double down. Give her no choice but to accept. You're going to be here from now on. Riri asked Joe for his thoughts from an ethical standpoint on someone hypothetically creating an AI using brain scanning technology, and he tells her that if such a thing were possible, it would ruin the brain of whoever tried it. Since this is not hypothetical, she asks whether he thinks it's ethical, and he tells her it all depends on the creator's ethics. If she was trying to hide that she's the one who she was talking about, the smirk is not really helping matters. With Joe's reluctant help, she adds a final piece to the suit, and not a minute too soon, as Clown messages her, summoning her to the job site. And yes, great shot of her exiting. Lucky the door was open. The early parts of the TNL go off without a hitch, with Clown getting Ross and Jerry into the control room. Riri also arrives on time, is making her way through a tunnel, gets Slug's virus set up when Natalie takes Ronnie's advice and forces her way in by appearing on Ree's heads-up display, which startles her enough that she drops the hard drive containing the virus down the drain. Natalie tells Riri there's another way to shut down the system and says she'll walk her through it, starting with her turning off her magnetic repulsor field. While Slug tries to get the team back online with her, Riri attaches herself to the platform under one of the cars. She gets in touch with Slug to talk her through the new plan, which involves her disabling a part of the platform for Slug to break in and override the controls, which they do about half a second before the system crushes Riri under the platform. Classic. Using the stillness of the shutdown, Parker appears in Zarate's car to negotiate.
How long was he holding his breath for, do you reckon? Because they were doing that whole thing. Like, it's implied he was holding his breath in the car or something, right?
I don't know.
Because at some stage, what's the cousin's name?
John.
Whatever. John. He's like, oh, he won't be able to hold his breath much longer or something.
I can't remember.
I'm like, it's been like 5 minutes. This dude's going for Tom Cruise's record.
Yeah. This is not the aggressive negotiations of the Star Wars galaxy, but rather Parker actually using his words as he presents Zarate with a contract. They'll put the crew on Tunnel's payroll with 6-figure salaries, benefits, equity, and more. I don't really see how this is going to be paid out fairly, much less how they'll use those benefits without the government names. If they're not worried, I guess I'm not either. If they're left at risk, Zarate signs with no argument and the crew leaves the scene. Crazy.
Some real
it's one way to get paid.
Extortion shit.
Yeah. Riri and Natalie head back up to street level, their celebration interrupted by the arrival of a security guard who draws a gun on them, at which point Natalie freezes and glitches, no longer responding to Riri's requests. Before the guard can shoot Riri, but after Natalie disappears, a bullet fired by Parker drifts over Riri's shoulder and hits the guard in his shoulder. Despite how shaken this leaves her, he heads back to headquarters with the crew to celebrate and ask Clown about Parker and his hood. Clown doesn't know much, but does tell Riri about the scary veins running down Parker's back. Later, she slips out and summons her suit, asking Natalie what happens when the guard arrives. She says the gun made her freeze, and she says that she only remembers snippets of the night real Natalie died. But more pressing than any of that is the energy she sensed off for Parker in the tunnels, which is something that feels not of this world. This would be a very valid concern in a normal world, but this is the MCU. Aliens, wizards, mutants, Norse gods run around all the time. Otherworldly energy is not that weird, really tells him as much. Obviously, without calling it the MCU. And acknowledges Parker is
totally
sus.
Fair. Totally fair.
It's like, yeah, weird shit happens here all the time.
Yeah.
Elements happen.
This ain't 2005, like.
Mate, I don't know if you know, but half of humanity disappeared for like 5 years.
Yeah. He has an odd aura, isn't a thing.
She does acknowledge Parker is sus, but tells her that the bigger issue is why an AI would have a panic attack related to a memory she isn't supposed to have. Back at Parker's with everyone gone, the door to his hood closet is open with the hood whispering sinisterly at him. He takes his shirt off and the darky veins trail even further down his back as the voice is quiet. John walks in just in time to see this and refuses to keep trying to cover up the veins with tattoos. Whatever this is, it's the price Parker feels he has to pay for what he did to him, and John leaves him to his own devices. Riri leaves the headquarters to meet up with Xavier at the concert he invited her to, and they get to talk about Natalie. With Xavier admitting he wishes he could talk to his sister. She heads home, and Ronnie reveals that she knows about Natalie and commends her daughter for the job she did, then asks if she's able to make one for Gary too. Riri apologizes and says that she can't because she doesn't even understand where Natalie came from, and as heartbreaking as it is to see that hope leave Ronnie's face, I'm grateful the show doesn't go full Black Matter at this point. Having a fake Gary around wouldn't help Ronnie heal, just as the fake Natalie certainly isn't helping Riri. This episode ends on a lighthearted note, with Joe accidentally stepping in the dog shit left behind by the passive-aggressive neighbor, and finally standing up for himself by going over to the place and ruining the flower bed she was so proud of. Yeah, you get yours.
I really thought he was going to go back to his house, get a bag, and go light the bag of shit on her doorstep. For some reason, that's what my brain was like.
That's what you're hoping to do.
That well, maybe, yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Episode 3 begins in an equally lighthearted way with the crew celebrating the tunnel victory by making it rain and discussing what they want to do with the windfall. Clown keeps the party going by finally breaking into Parker's vault to take out the hood, but tells everyone there's something off about it. She and Riri are just figuring out how they can use the hood to figure out Parker's powers when John arrives furious they even touch the hood. Don't touch the hood!
Smashes her face.
Super cool. Here. Parker intervenes, telling John to pack off as they have another job to focus on. This one at Elam, a biotech firm. The CEO, Hunter Mason, is using farming technology to put local farmers out of business. The only problem is the tech is designed to protect the seeds, and the produce will detect any metal that might prove harmful.
Yeah, so it was at this point in the show, in the third episode, I went, oh, I get its themes now. It's trying to do she's using AI and thinks like for good, and then she's got this whole thing, and like they're arguing. It's arguing about tech. What is tech for good versus tech for bad?
Yeah, and which tech is good and which tech is bad?
Which tech is bad, yeah. For some reason, it took me until this moment where I was like, oh, the second, like, oh, they're ruining the farmers and stuff. And her and Alden Ehrenreich are on about, like, how tech can be used for good. I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yep. Yeah, Manny, most of their usual arsenal's out. With that snag in the plan, and everyone's still tense over John manhandling Clown over the hood, Parker sends them all away for the night. Riri is wrestling with the idea that taking part in these heists means she's a criminal or a bad person, when she's only there as a means to an end. But Parker tells her that anyone who's ever achieved the kind of greatness she's looking for had to do some questionable things to get it done. He uses himself as an example because he was a nobody before his hood, but he's unstoppable now. She asks how she asks the hood how the hood actually works, and he tells her it's magic, considering she was just telling Natalie about the various sorts of magic that have become commonplace in recent years. I'm not sure why she's so skeptical about this now, but maybe she was just hoping Parker would elaborate more. Riri heads home with where Xavier is waiting for her, and she's got a gift with a brand new set of headphones purchased with her spoils from the heist. Xavier is skeptical about accepting the gift, given that Riri paid for them with her new job she can't tell him anything about, but more than that, he's reluctant to part with his worn-out Ultra headphones. They make him feel closer to Natalie, since she was always borrowing them from him and not taking good care of them. And now even the scarves make him think about his sister.
I don't think they got a sponsor for the headphones because I didn't recognize those.
No, well, they're so beaten up. You know, I don't think anybody
even
will
the boxed ones. I was like, oh, they didn't.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
No one wanted to give Marvel money for it.
If Ronnie's way of grieving is to not touch anything of Gary's and Riri's is to run away from his problems, we now see a third way in Xavier as he tries to find the good memories while missing his sister. But he might also be clinging too hard to the past. Grief is tricky and none of them are wrong for the way they handle it, but I appreciate the series really emphasizing that none of them are handling things the same way. Joe turns up then, wanting to speak with Riri. Very confusing her mum. It's like, what's this middle-aged man, white dude doing? They lie and tell Ronnie they're co-workers before Riri hauls him down into the hall to see what brought him out so far and so late. Since helping her rebuild the suit, Joe has felt inspired to take his ideas for bionics even further, listing off a bunch of ideas he's had and asking Riri for her help. She tries to put him off, but taking her words about blackmail to heart, he refuses, blackmailing her in turn. With no choice but to agree, Riri takes the blueprints he brought over and heads back inside. Good empowered white dude. That's what we want to see on television.
Yes. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's not a really good day for me. Too bad.
Too bad.
I'm white. You told me.
I'm not scared of that suit anymore.
Yeah.
There she tries to get Natalie to run diagnostics on the suit, but instead Natalie has... Natalie is completely taken over the suit in a bid for Riri's attention. She makes it clear that she doesn't trust Parker, and though Riri might insist she's just here for the job and the money, Natalie still feels her friend is in too deep. Natalie is also too self-aware for an AI and resents being treated like a genie rather than Riri's best friend, and tells her that she wants to go out like the old days. And though being reminded that she's code and not a person is not a deterrent, Riri eventually caves, realizing Natalie won't help her upgrade her suit otherwise, and upgrades Natalie so she'll be able to reject it without being tethered to the suit. Crazy. Natalie doesn't have anything elaborate in mind for the day out, with the two of them just tending to the planetarium to see the park. Despite constantly reminding Natalie that she's just an AI, it looks like the lines are starting to blur for Riri, especially as Natalie tells her that she remembers quite a bit about her being alive. The day out is interrupted when Joe texts Riri asking her to come over earlier than planned, which is to say immediately, and Riri tells Natalie that for all that Joe is neurotic and his plans are sloppy, he's got some good ideas tucked in there. Rather than rush back right to Joe's, the two of them make a last stop at Gary's garage. Riri is already wrestling with what he would have thought of her suit and the jobs she's carrying out with it, but Natalie hopes seeing the inside of the shop will give Riri much needed perspective. Instead, all it gives her is a panic attack as memories of that night come rushing back. Natalie guides her through the panic attack with the breathing exercises apparently are the only the real Natalie knew to use. Maybe it's just that she really needs her best friend right now. Riri doesn't fight against the idea that she might have before. Really interesting to see Natalie in here and freaking out and I remember what this room was like. And, does it smell does it smell the same? It's oh my god, my gum is there. Can you see if there's any taste left? And yeah, meanwhile, Riri is just having a crazy panic attack. Yeah. She heads home without Natalie projecting this time to find two cops at the door. They're there to ask about Stu.
Rampage.
Who was found dead that morning. Rip.
Oh, he rampaged too hard.
It's probably suicide because no one was calling him rampage.
Fucking hell.
The cops speak to her since she was the last person to call him, but she tells him a half-truth that they met a job interview and exchanged information, and her attempt to reach out failed. This is luckily enough for the cops, and they leave just in time for Riri to spiral again, as she believes Parker and the crew are responsible for Stu's death. Realizing they know too much about her, Riri decides she needs to get her hands on the hood. While Natalie is opposed to the idea, Riri decides to cut off a piece of the hood that night when they meet up for the Elam heist. Her not being able to bring the suit poses a problem until she remembers that one of Joe's designs involves a biomesh skin that covers bionic enhancements. He's conveniently left her with the blueprints. At Parker's hideout, John tells him they need to consider backing off the Elam entirely, given that they can't find any weaknesses in the CEO. Parker is confident, however, they'll find the needed leverage, and a news report on the city's recent criminal activity only strengthens his resolve. Even as John tells him that having Riri and the suit on the team is making him overconfident. Kind of odd. It's you've got a suit, now you're super confident about going to this place where we're not allowed to have any metal. I don't know about that, yeah. After speaking of Riri, she finally makes it over to Joe's place to find it in disarray after attempting to create a link between himself and a computer chip went horribly awry and left his arm split open. Which was weird because there's no blood anywhere. This man does not have any blood in his body. It's crazy. While helping him patch up, she shares her idea of enhancing the biomesh skin with cloaking abilities, which Joe just proves on ethical grounds alone, not to mention the fact that his designs could easily be traced back to him. While looking for Rockside, Riri finds a Ziploc bag of what appears to be flour, but is actually Joe's father, stashed in a kitchen storage container, which she drops in supplies. Joe isn't as all shaken up about some of the ashes spilling, since he and his father weren't close, but Riri is shaken up when she sees the bag is labelled Obadiah S. As in, honest. Obadiah Stane.
I may have zoned out for this whole minute because I don't remember any of this.
That's why I was confused. Like, this is a character who's never been introduced to.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I stand up here and drink? I don't know. Like, I honestly don't remember this whole minute that you're talking about. Fucking hell.
Yes, as in Obadiah Stane, one-time mentor to Tony Stark and MCU's first ever villain. I knew the name Joe McGillicuddy sounded fake. Joe tells her that his real name is Ezekiel Stane, and that Obadiah was his father. He tells her that the story that Stark Industries gave the public that Obadiah died in a plane crash is untrue, and that his father actually died trying to kill Tony Stark. Joe,
Right.
Zeke, I'll stick with Joe for now, doesn't want to be anything like his father, whom he describes as a supervillain.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, does this make a lot more sense in context?
Does. So I definitely remember her getting to the house, and I remember her leaving the house, and somehow I don't know,
everything
man.
in between. Sometimes you zone out.
This is a whole conversation. I must have left the room. Or
You've left the room.
I
with
don't
the thing
know.
playing. Jesus Christ.
Sometimes I quickly run, like I can hear it in the background. I go grab a drink or something. Maybe I got distracted and did something else quickly, and then it took longer. So I don't know.
Rookie mistake. Jeez.
My bad.
Doesn't want to be anything like his father, and seeing Riri in a suit pushing the boundaries of ethics for whatever reason is a step too far. He doesn't want any part of what Riri is up to. She apologizes for bringing it up, and Joe asks her why she really built the iron suit. She confesses that Gary was a fan of Tony Stark and fixed broken things just because he could, herself included, so she now does the same. She tells Joe that she doesn't want to. He doesn't need to let her who his father was define who he is now, and he softens enough to give her the biomesh skin on the condition that whatever she does won't bounce back on him.
Rip.
So there you go. She makes the iron suits as like a to honor her stepdad. Kind of.
I don't get how he knows for sure it's going to bounce back to him. Like, how's?
I don't know. I guess.
We're going to find out next episode, but like,
yeah, we're going to find out. Like patterns and stuff like that. Would be my guess.
Okay.
Yes, and I do love that she asks, does he have this skin in a cocoa sunrise? And maybe a little bit of a darker shade. But no. With the skin now in her possession and concealing her laser cutters, which she'll use to get a piece of the hood, Riri heads to the rendezvous point to meet up with the crew for the heirloom heist, and to strip themselves of any metal that might set off the detector. This means jewelry, knives, you name it. At the job site, Riri hovers over the greenhouses, providing the crew with a bird's eye view of the facility before heading to the watchtower. Or at least they think that she's headed to the tower. Riri leaves Natalie in charge of the suit and breaks in on her own using underwater access points to catch up with Parker. Parker, meanwhile, sneaks up on Hunter Mason in the greenhouse, though the CEO doesn't seem that surprised to see him. To begin the negotiations, and Hunter tries to pay Parker off. Parker tells him the money he's offering isn't enough and that they'd prefer he signed the contract just like the one the Tunnel CEO signed. When Hunter refuses, Slug disables the fire detectors in the greenhouse and orders Clown to set them on fire. While they talk, Riri sneaks up behind Parker and starts to slice off a corner of the robe, but the detection system picks up on the metal in the laser cutter, and the facility goes into shutdown, sealing everyone in wherever they are, spiking the CO2 levels to suffocate them. She really fucked up.
Really elaborate for a
really it's like the in the Mission Impossible room, It's like so many unnecessarily over the top systems.
Yeah, for what is it's not drugs or anything.
Farm.
It's just a farm, right? It's just
in the middle of the bay.
Yeah,
like or lake. I don't know. There's like
it looked like it was on the water, right? Yeah, they had boat out there.
Yeah.
So,
Chicago. There's like a big lake around Chicago, I think. Yeah.
I don't know.
Just as Riri has a corner of the hood cut off, Parker disappears in order to sneak behind Hunter and strangle him. Like, actually turn invisible. The act leaves scars on his face with the ones on his back, although those fade quickly. He disappears again, waiting for security to arrive before attacking them as well, and Riri uses this ensuing chaos to sneak out. She tells Natalie to direct her through the ventilation system while using the suit to get the rest of the crew to safety. She finds a way out of the vent and runs directly into John, who sees her holding a piece of the hood. Should have hit it straight away. Since Parker wasn't answering John's calls, he assumes the worst and attacks Riri. After confirming her fear that he was the one who killed Stuart,
Rampage!
the two of them fight as Parker and Natalie get the rest of the crew out, but the rising CO2 levels slow them down. Natalie busts in and puts Riri in the suit, and they leave John behind to suffocate in the greenhouse. Kind of fucked up.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, aren't you meant to be a good guy? Nope, just left him to get slowly suffocated to death.
Yeah. He was a bit of a dumb idiot by then. Why am I struggling to breathe?
Did you not listen to everything that was happening?
That's happening? Yeah.
Riri catches up to the crew as they prepare to run at Parker's request as a flyover to see if she can find John. She does see him and his body rather immobile in one of the greenhouses. The night goes from bad for worse as she arrives home and Natalie points out that the biomesh is no longer attached to her arm, and she starts spiraling both from taking a life for the first time and breaking her promise to Joe.
Yeah.
She's the only one spiraling as Parker heads home, devastated at losing John. He throws the hood and declares to whoever is listening, whoever is controlling that hood, that he is done. His grief is met only by a vision of John suffocating to death, followed by a vision of Riri's suit. So yeah, that's the 3 episodes. Now we've come back next week for the final 3.
Wild. Yep.
Yeah. I guess, well, this article is complaining about, it finishes up by complaining about them rushing this show out. Why do you feel they've rushed this out?
Make it a TV show or make it a fucking movie.
Is it because Fantastic Four is coming out and they're like, we need to get this out before that because we've got this phase thing going on and it doesn't make sense?
Then put it out earlier. What the fuck else? What has been happening in the last that they couldn't have released this a month ago?
Nothing. They could have started as soon as Andor was over.
Yep.
Wouldn't be good for us because that's so much extra.
Well, yeah, but still, it's just pointless. Like when you're like, yep, we're just going to do 3 episodes and the 3 episodes. I'm like, great, cool, love that. It's so good. So it's 2 weeks for 6 episodes.
Or just release it all at once, you know?
Even the Andor's whole 3-episode thing, which I still didn't like, obviously. At least that made some sense.
At least they had enough episodes to make that make sense.
They had enough episodes to make it, yeah.
You know, when you've only got 6.
Well, it's only 2 weeks. It's like, okay, then just do it as like a old school, and I'm saying old school, it's not really, but just do it as like an event series thing where you put out an hour-and-a-half movie, and then next week an hour-and-a-half movie, and the next week after that an hour-and-a-half movie, and you advertise it as a 3-part like
mini-series or whatever.
Mini-series, yeah. Just do that. Like treat it, just do it that way. Like,
you know, or even space them out over several days. You know, you do with What If. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you would think after Echo was probably their least watched series.
I presume so, yeah.
And that was just dropped all at once.
Yep.
You know,
6 episodes still though, right?
You know, at this point, you would think they would know.
I don't think. I think,
especially when it's not like Netflix, who have got a history of just dropping everything at once. That's their brand, I guess, part of their identity.
I think they just have something that they ask, like some spooky spirit just comes in and they're like, "Whoa, what's the release schedule, Mr. Ghost?" You know, like,
yeah. Any other final thoughts? What do you think is going to happen next week?
Well, obviously, I don't know. Will it be the police? Will it be Hood? No, I guess it would make more sense that the police or someone like tracks it back to, what's his name now? Alden
Joe.
Joe. Yeah, Chase. That gets back to him, I guess. Obviously, the Hood now is implied that presumably knows Riri did something. So, I don't know. We had 3 episodes of building everyone up, everyone's friends, and now now everyone hates each other. Again, it's just that whole thing of like, I'm less interested in any of that as I am just the wonder how
dealing with the
come
grief.
to terms with the grief. yeah. So, yeah. Look, I was not looking forward to this series full stop because of like I just don't think they did a good job marketing full stop, and
Yep.
I'm watching it, sort of sat down to watch it out of obligation. So, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was surprised how much better it was than I thought it would be. So,
okay. All right, let us know what you think of the first 3 episodes of Ironheart by letting us know on Blue Sky at Explosion, by finding us at explosionnetwork.com, or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on Podcasts, leave us 5 stars, we leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thoughts worth $1, head on over to our Coke page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you watch next week's episodes of Ironheart and join us next time for another All New Marvelcast.